All right, guys. So now, following SAG, we now have the other two members of what I call the Triple Crown of the Guild Awards. That's the Directors Guild and the Producers Guild nominations have been announced. And with this, I don't know. I really don't think I'll have way too much to say for as far as it goes for DGA. PGA, I have not looked at the list yet. I didn't check my phone for updates through the day or anything. So when I read those, it's going to be legit. It's going to be like, oh, I haven't seen these yet. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's this could be an interesting experiment because I don't. This has never happened to me before. So, anyways, I'm going to pull up my list here as well, just so we can say, oh, who's in, who's not in for the various awards here. So. First off, let's talk about DGA. So your five nominees here for directors are Todd Field for Tar, Joseph Kosinski is in for Top Gun, the Daniels is for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Martin McDonagh for Banshees, and Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. So I did have four of these five. Let's see, my fifth one was Baz Luhrmann in favor of Joseph Kosinski, but yeah, Kosinski I knew was possible because Top Gun has been doing pretty well with the Guild so far. It even got into SAG there with the stunt ensemble, which I was very, very, very skeptical of that getting in because, you know, it was mostly, I would say, as far as I know, it was the actors just doing everything for real in the cockpits and stuff like that. So, I don't know. It again reminded me of 1917, the way that did not get a stunt ensemble, even though that was a more obvious, you know, war picture and stuff. But who knows? Who knows? Let's see here. So yeah, generally speaking, for the ones who are not in, Baz Luhrmann being one of them, this might be one of the rare places where Elvis just does not score. Otherwise, yeah, no female representation here, so you don't get Sarah Polley, you don't get Gina Prince Bythewood, you don't get, let's see, I'm trying to find her name here. Maria Schrader for She Said. I had her in for a little while there, but that film has just almost completely fizzled out. It looks like it's going to be okay to get at least a screenplay nomination, and if they're really lucky, if they've really seen it, then maybe Carey Mulligan can get back in, but she has been really just all over the place, so I don't really see her as a solid nominee, especially with Angela Bassett and Stephanie Sue, I think, getting a lot more attention now in that race compared to when I did have Carey as a more likely contender. Otherwise, Edward Berger, I would still say he's the one I put in over Kosinski, and I have the other four in right now at the Oscars. No James Cameron either. And if memory serves, we looked this up the last time, but the last time James Cameron was nominated was actually the last time the Directors Guild went 5 for 5, matching with the Oscar nominees for Best Director. So maybe in a weird way, that's going to be somehow a mirror, and somehow that's going to happen again. But again, Top Gun, I think, as popular as it is, Kosinski, I just don't think has the street cred with the Academy. He's not like a more snobbish director the way they sometimes like to put in, like a Paul Thomas Anderson or a, the likes of him, or even Bennett Miller, who got in a couple of times for films, even if his film itself was not doing extremely well, like Foxcatcher, which was kind of sporadic through the year, and then missed out on Best Picture, even though it was a up to 10 field for Best Picture. Otherwise, trying to think who else maybe was in the running here, but I feel like we're kind of down to the five that are in, maybe minus Kosinski. I really don't. I mean, he is on the list for BAFTA for the long list, but I just cannot see that happening. It's just, even with Spielberg off, I just do not see that happening, especially if they do a 3-3 split between female and male directors over there, which I think they're going to do, just because. But even if it's not explicitly stated, it seems like they've done that. At least last year they did that, and I feel like we looked it up one other time, and it might have been the way it had been the year before that, too, when they started doing the jury thing. Which, yeah, even now I'm still like, yeah, that system is just not. I just think it's not awarding the best directors. They're just awarding, 50-50 splits, and it's like, okay, well, that's fine to do that, but at a certain degree, number one, if you just keep doing that, it doesn't really move the meter much for the ones who do get in, and sometimes the ones who don't get in, it prevents them from being nominated when they're, usually, and it's all subjective, of course, but usually they're a much more prime bet. They're somebody that's been nominated consistently, then they don't show up because of your stupid fucking system, and now they're out. Which it happened to Denis Villeneuve last year, and I'm like, oh yeah, Dune, a massive film like that. Even though it wasn't my favorite that year, it's like, yeah, that directed itself. Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, that's nothing against Joseph Kosinski, because obviously Top Gun did not direct itself. And doing all the technical aspects and stuff. I don't know. Maybe me and a lot of other ones out there, because I don't know too many other people that are putting their money on Joseph Kosinski getting in for director. Maybe the technical aspects and everything with how they did the jet stuff and how they shot it and everything, maybe that is something we're all massively under anticipating, and maybe he does get in. But I don't know. Personally, as good as, and even myself, his last film, Only the Brave, which almost nobody saw, I loved it. It was one of my favorite films that year. Even then, on my personal list of the 5 best directors, I didn't put him on there because I thought, as good a job as he did with the movie, some of the best aspects of it was the acting and some of the writing sometimes, as well as some of the effects and stuff. Some of the direction, once in a while, I thought was maybe a little wonky. Not really firing on all cylinders. So, and again, that's nothing against him, but it's just, yeah, I just with the BAFTA thing especially, I do not. I would almost bet the farm on that one, that he's not going to get in with that. But who knows? Who knows? Okay, so that's that one. Now the exciting part. I have not read this list yet, so let's see the 10 films, or maybe more films. We'll see. They've done more than 10 before that are up for PGA this year. They are Avatar: The Way of Water, Banshees, Black Panther's in there. Okay, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Glass Onion, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, and The Whale. The Whale's in there? Wow, good for that one. That one, again, it's kind of, the box office has been peaking lately. Tong Chow got in yesterday at SAG, and now here at PGA. I feel this might be a late bloomer. I don't know if that's enough for me to put it, immediately back into the Best Picture race, but because I had it there for a while. But I'm telling you, that one I think is probably going to be well on its way to 4 nominations there with Hong Chow, Brendan Fraser, the screenplay, and the makeup, at least. And there's not really a very, other than Best Picture, there's probably not another very obvious spot for it to get into. But, yeah. Let's see. So for the ones that are not in there, Women Talking is not in there. Babylon is not in there. Again, All Quiet on the Western Front might not have qualified, so I'm not going to give that one as hard a time. Yeah, I feel like now, especially after Woman King has just not been doing well here lately in the top prizes. It didn't even make it on the list for 10 films for producers, or for Critics' Choice rather. Yeah, I feel like that one, Best Picture, is kind of done for that one. Let's see. Otherwise, is there any other very obvious one that I totally skipped over? I was going to say Top Gun, but I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, I literally just said Top Gun. That's in there. Yeah, so Women Talking and Babylon are probably the two that most people had that did not make it in. I did have both those in. I called Glass Onion, so it's The Whale and it's Black Panther that I did not call. And keep in mind, too, with Black Panther, it looks like it's still going to be, halfway solid in some of those tech categories. I can see it, getting into or falling out of maybe one or the two that it is long listed in at the Oscars. But if Angela Bassett does, start to gain a lot, not only gain, but, keep her momentum up, I should say, at this point. She's already won the Globe. If she's able to keep that momentum going into the final part of voting there, maybe it is, again, since it is a solid 10, maybe Black Panther is that 9th or 10th film that gets in there over maybe even something like possibly All Quiet on the Western Front. Now, Women Talking getting in at SAG yesterday for Ensemble, even though it didn't get any individual actors in, that was still like, okay, that doesn't mean it's out yet. That means, it probably struggled more than it should have, but, because, yeah, even 2-3 months ago, I would have said, yeah, Women Talking will get at least 3 or 4 nominations there at SAG, but it ends up with just the one. Let's see here. Otherwise, yeah, Banshees, Everything, Everywhere, The Fabelmans, those have all hit the Triple Crown for SAG, DGA, and PGA nominations. Again, I think if you really want to handicap this race for Best Picture overall, you got to go with one of those 3 right now. And personally, I'm still in the camp, even though it didn't win the Globe, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I still think I'm in that camp right now. especially if Stephanie Sue can get in. If both she and Jamie Lee Curtis get in, then you get very likely, because I don't think Michelle Yeoh would fall out. I don't think, obviously, Ke Huy Quan is not going anywhere. So then you have 4 acting nominations, director and picture, and then you can get, probably 3, 4, 5 tech categories on top of that. Which, again, it's traditionally speaking a better bet for Best Picture when you have a good mix of technical and top nominations. Now, obviously, Coda was a big, huge anti, thing, contrary to all that. Nomadland, for the most part, was the same way. Green Book, for the most part, was the same way, because they only had 1 tech nomination, film editing. I'm trying to think what else recently has done that. Moonlight, I think, had a couple tech nominations. Most of it was top-heavy, from screenplay up, but it still had a couple tech nominations in there. So you need at least 1 or 2 of those. Again, unless you're Coda, then and obviously that had a later, or it screened as early as Sundance and stuff, but peaked very, very late into the race. So probably if voting had gone on another week or 2, we probably would have seen. I was going to say Diablo Cody, but that's not her name. The director, we would have seen her get in. It would have probably gotten in for editing. It probably, more than likely, would have gotten Marlee Matlin in for supporting actress. And then it probably, I don't know what else it could have gotten, actually. I don't know if it would have had enough strength to get into Best Actress and knock out either Penelope Cruz or somebody else there for Best Actress, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so that one's kind of fun to think about in retrospect. Let's see. Otherwise, I think generally speaking, though, we can say with Glass Onion and Black Panther getting back in here for Best Picture, those, again, especially Glass Onion after just getting absolutely nothing at SAG, it feels like that one, okay, it's at least, from the Producers Guild point of view, it's at least, they're at least thinking about it. They're at least, a couple of them are watching it. And I still think at this point it's probably only in for screenplay right now at the Oscars. It doesn't feel like one of those weird situations where it gets screenplay, picture, and nothing else. I feel like they would need a more secure spot. If Janelle Monáe had really taken off and just gotten more than the Critics' Choice nomination. If Daniel Craig was a more likely threat in Best Actor, even though that one is kind of thin, and we have a really open spot there for that 5th slot. Yeah. Otherwise, generally speaking, though, I guess I can go a little bit further into Women Talking Babylon not getting in. How much does this really hurt? Babylon getting the SAG nomination for ensemble, which I didn't really count on that happening. I think that saves a little bit of face for it here. I don't think it's totally the end of the world here. I guess really quick we can look. Let's see, I'm going to pull up the list here. Just the last couple of years for films that missed at PGA but still got an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. Let's see here. There we go. Let me pull up. So I have them side by side here. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So Being the Ricardos. Now, Drive My Car did not get in for PGA last year. Again, probably just didn't qualify because of where it was produced. Let's see here. Nightmare Alley? Nightmare Alley was not a PGA nominee. That got in. I think it was only those 2 last year, because he had Being the Ricardos and Tick, Tick, Boom nominated instead. All the other 8 lined up. Let's go to 2020 here. And obviously, with 2020, on backwards, up till, 2008, it was only, it was that sliding scale of nominees for a while there, with the exception of 2009, 2010, I think. Just those 2 years. Let's see here. I think The Father was not a PGA nominee, and that still got in. As I'm flipping back and forth, which is probably annoying some of you, but let's see here. That was the only one that year. Let's see, 2019, I think they all got in. Yeah, Parasite was on there. Okay, maybe, yeah. Because I forget sometimes which of these are eligible and which are not. Sometimes it's not just where it was produced, but it's like, who is producing it and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't think they all have to be strictly like guild members or anything. I don't think it's a rule like that. Otherwise, it'd be like WGA, where it's like every year they put out a big list where it's like, okay, just because XXXXX does not get nominated doesn't mean, it's the end of the world. They just weren't eligible. Stuff like that. Let's see. Going to 2018. I guess we can stop here at 2018 just for time's sake here. I don't think any of them missed. Yeah, again, they had 2 films they could add on top of it because it was only 8 nominees. It was Crazy Rich Asians and A Quiet Place were the other 2 nominated. So yeah, none of them missed in 2018. So yeah, and again, when you had a more sliding scale, they gave some more room for for PGA to get a couple in there that that wouldn't qualify. So yeah, so really strictly speaking, last year was our first real test for like the ones that would carry over or not carry over. But I guess technically we can go back to those 2 years, 2010, 2009, just to just so they're an exact comparison there. But let's see, Winter's Bone I see was not a PGA nominee. I think the rest of them all made it. Yeah, just from eyeball glance there, yeah, that's the way it went. And then Star Trek was a nominee in 2009. I know that one was not a Best Picture nominee. I think that got in over... Oh, which one here? Maybe An Education? Nope, An Education was on there. Glorious Bastards was on there. Also, Invictus was on there, so there's at least 1 or 2 that missed. Let's see, A Serious Man was not a PGA nominee. And oh, that's weird. Well, which one am I missing then? The Blind Side? The Blind Side. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, there's another couple that missed there. So again, not the end of the world, but certainly, it's a little chink in the armor that you gotta overcome. And I think Babylon being a little off with its BAFTA performance as well, that might not be the best, sign as we go into the Oscars, but again, a film about Hollywood and old Hollywood and making movies and stuff. I think there's going to be just enough people that vote for it, that it gets the general popular vote to get one of those, that 9th or 10th slot. I think it's going to have it. Now, Women Talking is a kind of a horse of a different color there, I think. It's really going to depend, because again, it's really BAFTA is going to really be tricky with that one too, because it is missing from quite a few short lists, or long lists, I guess I should say. So, I don't know. I don't think I dropped that one, because I'm not really, of the 2 that got in today, I was like, Black Panther, I don't know if that's enough to push it over the edge. Like, it's not on the long list for a lot of spots for BAFTA. And then Glass Onion, again, I think that one needs a little more help to get a Best Picture nomination. So, yeah. So for right now, I don't think I'm going to move anything out of Best Picture and anything into Best Picture. Yeah, director, I think I'm going to stick with my 5. So yeah, so really no major changes there. Yeah, and I think the Writers Guild nominations will be out fairly soon. I guess I can try to find the date on it. There we go. Let's see if this has any. Let's see here. Yesterday they did the TV nominees. Here we go. Timeline. Let's see if this helps us. Screenplay nominations announced Wednesday the 25th. So yeah, we got is that after the Oscars? That makes no that doesn't make sense. So hold on a minute. So yeah, they're going to announce their final voting starts the 30th. Okay. But yeah, the screenplay, the WGA is not going to announce anything until after the Oscar nominations are out. So yeah, that doesn't help us at all. So, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I haven't even seen a list yet for the films that are not qualifying for WGA this year because the writer's not part of the guild. So that doesn't help us. BAFTA nominations are out, I believe, next Tuesday. I believe it's a week before the Oscars nominations are announced. I don't have time to look it up. So, all right. So yeah, that's all the time I have for now. But yep, there's your PGA and DGA nominees. So there you go. I don't know if that really helps us too much in who's going to win, who's not going to win. And for me, it's not really helping me for who's in and who's out of the Best Picture or Best Director race so far. So there you go.